Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first day in my Halloween Mayothon, which I hope is going to go through the entire month of October. And I'm hoping I'm going to have at least one horror video a day. I may skip a day here and there, but I'm going to try to be good with this. Well, the first movie I want to feature is a movie I just saw. Get it? It can't be helped. Anyway, I'm a fan of the Saw series, I gotta say. Although I did miss the episodes Jigsaw, I've never seen, and I've never seen Spiral, and I hear that those two are among the least of the series, so I'm in no hurry to get to it. But I have to say, I went to the movie theater to see Saw 10, or Saw X, and I really liked it. I tell you, I'm to the point already where I think Saw X may replace the original film as my favorite in the Saw series. That's right. I'm saying it's the best of the 10. And let's talk a little bit about it, okay? Well, the first thing about Saw 10 is that it returns Tobin Bell as Jigsaw to the series after he'd been long dead. And it also features Shawnee Smith as his assistant, Amanda, who is also long dead. So the question is, if Amanda's dead and if Jigsaw's dead, how are you going to have them in Saw 10? Well, the answer is take the story as occurring between Saw 1 and 2 when they were still around doing their thing. So this movie actually is like Saw 1.5. It fits between 1 and 2. And I think that was ingenious. And I have to tell you, I also like the fact that Saw 10 can stand on its own for a person who's never seen a Saw movie. It's the longest movie of the series, and I think it has more footage of Tobin Bell in it as Jigsaw than any other movie in the whole franchise. So, a lot of Jigsaw is good, and there's a lot of character development. There's a lot of empathy for Jigsaw. And what I loved about Saw when I first saw the first one was the fact that there's this empathy, there's this feeling you have. It's not just a grotesque torture film. It actually has some character development, it has a story, and it has some kind of a reason for why these atrocities, if you like to call them that, are occurring, and why this is the method that Jigsaw uses. And there's also kind of a noble message behind this. He's doing a virtuous thing in his Saw activities. It's not just because he just wants to kill people. He doesn't want to kill people. He wants people to find the error of their ways and try to emerge as a better person for it and become better and more virtuous. So that's what I like about this. So put on the shelf all the things about the blood and the gore and all that. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, the games, the puzzles, the booby traps. That's all at the core of the Saw series. But in this particular story, what we have here is a well fleshed out tale of Jigsaw who is dying of brain cancer. You know, when the series starts, even in the first one, that's the whole angle. He's an older man that's dying of cancer, and in this particular new movie, he goes to Mexico to get a treatment. He goes to a support group of other cancer sufferers and meets a man who tells of this wonderful place that he's found. And this place is run by a woman who's the daughter of a really renowned doctor. And because this is an angle I like too, because the big companies, the big drug companies, big pharma, the government is so dead set against this because they just want the money and they're trying to avoid these side businesses from helping people, they have to take their treatment centers to really a remote, hidden location in Mexico. And Jigsaw finds out about this and spends a good portion of the first half of the film or first quarter of the film, whatever, trying to get relief because he wants to live. And during these scenes, Jigsaw is played marvelously by Tobin Bell. He is kind, he is sympathetic, he's passionate, he's always saying thank you, thank you. He's very, very, polite to people. You really like this character, and you're really pulling for him, and you want him to find a treatment that will either put his cancer in remission or will at least completely will wipe it out, maybe even better. He's trying to accomplish this. So your heart is with the Jigsaw character, and that's what I like in this movie. Okay, I like the fact that you are pulling for him. Well, the spoilers here, folks. There are going to be spoilers in here. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, please shut this off right now. Okay? I was really with this, invested 150% into this plot. What happens is he goes to the cancer treatment special center where nobody knows. Only an elite group of patients get to come here and be treated. And he does get treatment for his brain cancer and is bandaged up around his head, and eventually discovers that, lo and behold, this is a scam. These people are all in it together. All they want is his money. All they do is take people's money. They promise them hope, and that's the biggest sin of all, robbing patients of hope. And let's just say that's the motive set forth in this film for why Jigsaw then rounds up all these people, the doctors, the assistants, even the cab driver who took him there, even a couple of the other patients that were successfully treated, and he uses them as the pawn in his latest game, for not so much revenge, although that's part of it, but not so much retribution, but to teach them the error of their ways, punish them, but also give them a chance to redeem themselves if they survive his contests, his games. Okay, and that's where the gore comes in later on, that we wait for, that we want in these kind of movies. But I mean, the music is tender during a lot of those early scenes. I like that there's some twists. There's twists and turns, things, and sometimes not what you think they are. Just when you think it's going to be something, you get a little twist. I think that works very successfully. And overall, this Saw film is everything you want a Saw film to be. Die Hard fans get to see a lot of Jigsaw, the character. They get to see Shawnee Smith return as Amanda, the assistant, even though, let's be honest, you have to kind of check your brain at the door, because obviously this is like 20, what is it, 20 years after the original. So the characters have aged in real life, so especially Shawnee Smith, you have to pretend that she's younger. It kind of works if you're not really thinking about it too much, but it's everything you want. You got the torture devices, that some of them are very elaborate and very well thought out, and there's just a great thing here where somehow, even though Amanda and Jigsaw are initiating these traps and these very extravagant ways of uh, giving people challenges and kind of hurting them possibly, or they hurt themselves if they don't function right, if they don't do the game right, they can hurt or kill themselves. Even though they're doing these things, the movie manages to make you on their side. And that's what's important about this. It's more than just, okay, let's just take nondescript characters, put them in a room, yada, 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 blood, 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 and that's it. And that's what I've liked about the series, especially the first movie, and now this movie. Now, I fully recommend this, certainly to Saw fans. If you're a fan of Saw, now I haven't seen the last two, Spiral Spiral, and the one before that, Jigsaw, I believe, whatever order they're in. I haven't seen those two yet. I have to see them, but I heard they're not very good. And the character played by Tobin Bell is sorely missed, and now that's remedied. Okay, I will say, again, a spoiler here. I was under the impression when watching the movie, I thought what was going to happen was the idea was going to turn out to be that Jigsaw did in fact get his cure. He was cured of brain cancer. I thought he was going to be cured. I thought that the people who worked on him were a legitimate uh, establishment. They were on the level. And I thought the twist was going to come that the government and Big Pharma shut them down. Okay. And because Big Pharma and the government stepped in and ruined it and took them out of business, I thought that Jigsaw was going to get his revenge against the big pharma companies, which I would have liked better. Honestly, I would have liked that better than the way it played out. That actually it was you know a group of phonies being frauds uh, and actually fooling and making a sucker and a target out of Jigsaw. They turned out to be con artists. Didn't really appreciate that as much. Plus, if you followed my plot line, if you had the idea, think about it, that Jigsaw did in fact get his cure and it wasn't fake and they didn't pretend to cure him, he was really cured. If that had been the case, you could have continued the Jigsaw character. You could have maybe had some more with Tobin Bell in there because now he's cured. Right? But anyway, he still has his cancer, his brain cancer, unfortunately. Um, yeah, I can't recommend it enough. I will say one thing. Um, After this movie was over, I went home and watched the first Saw movie. And I'm not gonna review Saw 100% here, but the first one. But I'll tell you this. Okay, when I first saw the original Saw, what I did was I rented it from Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster? And I didn't expect much, and I really was blown away by it. I thought it was so good for a 21st century horror film. It was, for all the reasons I said, it was so much more than just a gore fest. It had thought behind it. It had characters behind it. There was a reason for the mayhem. Um, I like the original Saw very much. I haven't seen it since in 20 years, roughly maybe. I haven't seen the original Saw in 20 years. Watched it again last night, and it didn't grab me as much. I still highly recommend the original for people who have never seen it, but I think the reason I wasn't with it as much as I was, because since then I've seen all the other sequels. I think I'm partial now more to the sequels where a lot more of the booby traps happen. Not many booby traps in the original, you know. But so the original Saw went down a notch. Going into this movie, I figured Saw 10 is so good that I figured it was gonna be my second favorite. But after rewatching the original, I figured, Saw is now my number one favorite. That's right, Saw fans, Jigsaw fans. Saw 10, my number one favorite in the series. Go see it if you're a fan. And one thing I'll say, I know it's not for everybody. In fact, I'll mention this. I got lucky because when I went to the theater, my girlfriend wanted to see A Haunting in Venice, which was also playing at the same time at the same theater. And it started and it finished at the same time as Saw. So I suddenly said, well, we could, she actually suggested it. My girlfriend said, you know what, why don't we go to different theaters? You go into Saw 10, I'll go into A Haunting in Venice. And that's what we did, and we met back afterwards. She doesn't like these kind of movies, but one thing I'll say before closing, and a few reviewers have agreed with me on this, even if you don't like Saw movies, you might be able to take Saw 10. There's some crazy traps in there, and you know, I won't go into detail. I won't spoil that part for you, but there's a lot of things about has to do with severed limbs and having to try to survive these traps. The things you have to do in order to survive. Are you worth risking a limb or two in order to come out alive? Are you willing to sacrifice just a little small piece of your brain matter if you can survive the trap and still live? These are the kind of things you got to decide for yourselves. But yeah, if you've never seen a Saw movie, you don't have to see the other 9. This movie I also like stands on its own. Saw 10 is its own entity. You don't have to be familiar with Saw. You don't have to have seen any of the other episodes. This one is a story all alone, and I think it's the best. Thanks, folks.